Welcome to CashFlow Diary, a podcast where we discuss business, money, real estate, and the sharing economy. As a full-time real estate investor, entrepreneur, and all-around problem solver, I have had the privilege of developing individuals into powerful business owners. And today, the focus turns towards you. Our mission is to help you build your real estate empire by leveraging strategies to grow yourself, your mind, and your wallet. Let's get started.
Ray has a Tri-Plex, okay? Ask is 75, actual NOI is 11,250, building size is 5,000 square feet. Ray, while I'm reading this, tell me what you want me to do. Are you trying to raise the capital for it, or what are you asking me? Is it a good deal? Or tell me what you're trying to do. Building size is 5,000 square feet. Lot size is 20,000 square feet. Year built 1929. That's old. Okay. Occupancy is 66%, also known as one unit is vacant. That's funny. Located 1 mile from the University of Memphis campus. Okay. All right. 66650, 700. Still looks good to me. Got it. All right. So owner financing, of course. They want 75. Actual NOI is 11,250. Interesting. So there are some interesting things that are going on with this particular property. So when I see your question, Ray, about how Dodd Frank impacts seller financing or how it approaches seller financing, it shouldn't change your approach. For most people, it should only affect those that are doing loans. You're not actually loaning. Now, seller financing comes under attack a lot. So just get used to it. It happens nearly every year. It's not something I would be overly concerned about if I were you guys, to be honest, unless you're using traditional loans. If you're using a traditional lender, then yeah, you should be concerned about that, in general. But as far as seller financing goes, as it relates to loans, I'm not going to be overly concerned about. Now, what I'm looking at though, so that you guys know, I'm looking at the numbers. He's got a NOI of 11,250, and he's got a ask price of $75,000. One of the first things going through my head is because that's a 15% cap rate, and I'm just wondering, why would they offer something at a 15% cap rate? Now, the cap rate, if you want to know how to calculate that, what the cap rate is simply, okay, it's going to be net operating income over, in this case, the purchase price. And the purchase price that the seller was asking for was $75,000. So therefore, that's where that number came from. This number of 15%. I was just trying to understand. Now, what that means is if I paid 100% cash, I'm getting a 15% return on my money, which is what you want, right? But there's a rule that I use and that you should be using anytime you're speaking to people. It's inspect what you expect. So that'll be my first question. It's not that I don't want the 15%. I do. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And again, let me see. Go back here to any questions. You are looking for the max all-in price to consider making it a good deal. Excellent. No problem. That I can do for you. So what I'm going to do when it comes to the max all-in price is that I'm going to use the very same formula that, especially in this marketplace, it happens to be a marketplace I know relatively well. I'm going to use the same formula. And it's based upon the gross rent multiplier method. But this is what I mean. I'm going to take my annual gross scheduled income. I'm going to multiply that by 2, which will then equal what I'm willing to do for my total investment. Okay. Annual gross scheduled income multiplied by 2 equals my total investment. I'll show you why these numbers are what they are shortly, but this is the general formula. Now, when I say annual gross scheduled income, that's income not just from rent. Can this property produce income from parking, or advertising, maybe a cell phone tower, these types of things? Whatever the property can produce in terms of all income times 2 equals total investment. Now, when I say total investment, that includes, I'm going to subtract out my purchase price. I'm going to subtract out my repair costs. I'm going to subtract out my transaction costs. I'm going to subtract out any reserve requirements that I may want to set up just to make sure that I have enough money. I'm going to subtract out any sort of upfront commission or fee that I may want to actually take. I'm going to subtract all of these things out. So that way I have the ability to then, so long as that number is at least 0, not negative. You just don't want this number to be negative. So long as that's the case, if I can repair it, fix it, buy it, transaction costs, have a reserve, and take a little bit of money up front for within this number, it'll be fine. So so back to Ray's, actual deal here. We've got a triplex, and I don't think we have enough rent to do it. I mean, I don't think we have enough rent, but we'll do the math right now together. So you see it's 600, so it's 1,200 plus 500. It's going to be $1,700 a month of rent. So I'm going to use this exact same formula right here. Okay. So we've got 600 plus 600 plus 500 equals $1,700 a month. I'm going to multiply that by 12, and that's going to give me 20,400. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2, and that's going to be 40,800. So 40,800 is going to be where I'm going to start for my max all in, because that has proven to me, especially in that marketplace, to be able to cash flow. If you go more than that, you risk not cash flowing, and now you're betting on equity, which in this type of property is not safe to do, in my opinion. Additionally, knowing this marketplace, typically C-class property, of which this would definitely be because of the age built, would only go for somewhere in the neighborhood, in a best situation, at the absolute height of the market, 100% occupied and in great condition, would be $75,000 at $25,000 a unit. Clearly, it's not that, because if it was, he wouldn't be offering seller financing. It's not that. So there are a number of things that, it's not that it's bad. It's just those are my immediate concerns when I look at this particular deal. So you've got more work to do there is all I'm really trying to say. Is 2 okay for all markets? No. Great question, Daryl. If I remember correctly, you are up in Northern California. You've got to do some research to figure out what the GRM gross rent multiplier, that's what that number is based on. So this number 2 is completely adjustable for any person who wants to. You can totally change it. The higher the number, the more aggressive it is. It also means people are willing to pay more dollars for a stream of income. Also known, another way of saying that is I'm willing to take a lower return on my money than the next guy. So here's what I mean by that. I'll give you a different way of looking at it. Now, understand, some of what I'm sharing with you, they're financial planning concepts. That's what I was before a real estate guy, right? So I look at real estate as a stream of income. That's really what you're buying. You're buying an asset that you should be able to manage to produce a stream of income. And that's what's going through my head is what is the cost of this stream of income? So for the sake of this example, and let me get over to the calculator again. We're going to need it. Okay. For the sake of this example, let's say, and I'm just going to take it away from real estate. Don't even think about real estate at the moment. Say your income stream is, let's call it $45,000 a year. So what we're trying to figure out is what you would pay for that $45,000 a year. If I said, give me X dollars and you'll get $45,000 a year, some of you might say, well, I'm only willing to give or contribute $90,000. I'll pay 90 so that I can get 45. Well, some people might say, well, I'm willing to pay 180 to get 45. Others might say, I'm willing to pay 540 to get 45. And what it comes down to is that real estate and most assets are all about how do you manage it to produce a stream of income. So we'll do the numbers in each case. If this is your adjusted gross, the AGSI like we used earlier, and you multiply by 2, notice how you get 90,000. Multiply by 4, and you're going to get 180. Multiply by, was that 5? 9. Thank you. Multiply by 9, and you're going to get 540. And the difference is that in every marketplace, that's going to be a different value of stream of income. So this would clearly be California, right? So if this is located in California, if I had to pay $540,000 to get a stream of 45,000, it's okay. But if this was not California and say Kansas, but if this is in Kansas, in fact, can you even find Kansas on a map? But the point is, if this is in Kansas, it may not be the same. It's not the same value. You mean you paid $540,000 to get $45,000 a year in Kansas? Whereas if it's in California, it makes more sense. Same thing here. If it's $90,000, you're like, some of you are scared of that number because you're like, ooh, what's wrong with it? Especially if it's real estate. But in this particular case, if as soon as I say it's in Tennessee, you're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. You know, the question is where is it? It just gives you a relative measure to be able to use. Now, income streams in higher demand areas cost more money. That's what this is also meant to tell you. To get $45,000 a year in California is going to cost you more than $45,000 a year in other places. All that simply means is you may have to work harder in other places. You may have to develop a team. You may have to develop different skill sets to make it work. That's what I'm working to communicate to you here. Let me see. So, let me see, Ray, is there anything else that you wanted to know about this particular property? You remember that from your last call? Yes, I do my best. Yes, Daryl, that is related to the market cap rate. That's exactly right. The market cap rate is it's the same thing. I'm using different words. I was using financial planning words. You're using real estate words in order to describe the same thing. What is the cost of the stream of income? You want to know. Obviously, you want the highest return as possible, but it's relative to safety and a whole bunch of other things. So for some people, the idea of trying to put together properties across multiple states isn't as safe, and they would rather stay home. And sometimes they pay the price, i.e., if you're in California, you pay the price for that. Other times, staying near home is okay, but you may want something that's got more sunshine attached to it, because I hear it's cold in some places right now.
All right, everyone. I'm Jay Massey, and I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, head over to CashFlowDiary.com to sign up for our email list. Check out all of the links and resources in the show notes. Thank you again. Until next time.